What's up, spectators? Welcome back to the episode of Last Window. Last video, we spent a lot of time with the other tenants of the hotel apartment complex. And then we came back and the mother called for a bit. And that about sums it up. We didn't get very far in the investigation. But yeah, I mean, so far the investigation's just been a lot of Condor. What's this Condor? It's you. Merry Christmas, Hyde. What the hell do you want this early in the morning? Man, Kyle is so rude. Why does anyone bother talking to Kyle? Back to your normal cold self, I see. You have to forgive me, but wasn't it you who dumped your friend on Christmas Eve? Just to go paint the town red with Betty? I'm not denying it, but have a heart, man. What would you have done? Anyway, how was the rest of the night down there? Just me and Sydney drinking till after the place closed. Cool. He's tough to drink under the table, that one. Can't remember a single time I didn't pass out while he's still solid as a rock. So, how's your night? Mine? How'd it go with Betty? That's what you come here to tell me about anyway, right? You can see right through me, man. So, what happened? Well, we headed to the same place I took you to a couple of nights ago. Spent half the night chatting and getting out of control. Sounds like it went pretty well. Yeah, I thought so too, but now I'm not so sure. What do you mean? I'd actually kind of given up on Betty. But then she went and said some pretty confusing things. Then she told me to give something to you. Something pretty weird. What did Betty say? She was a little drunk and slurring her words a bit, but she was going on about how there are two guys she likes. One who sets sparks flying, and one she cares about in a different way. Cryptic. Her words, not mine. I just sat there nearly falling off my stool. But the next thing she said sure threw me a hell of a curveball. Tony, she said, what do you do when there's someone that you really care about? Who's close to you, you know, someone you've been friends with for a while. How do you tell them how much you care about them without them freaking out? Did she say anything else? Yeah, she said, the other guy's history now and I want to take it further with that friend, but... So, what did you so confused? That's the thing. The way she looked at me when she said it, I started thinking that maybe that friend is me. But you didn't actually ask her, right? Nah, I kinda chickened out. Pathetic, isn't it? Maybe you're wrong, maybe you're right. But for now, you should stick to the belief that she was talking about you and try to become that person to her. Only way to be sure, right? I guess so. You know what? Maybe it is me. Who knows? I mean, look at you. You can't get her out of your head. Ain't that the truth? What did she ask you to look after? This. It's some sort of notebook. A notebook. She said it belongs to Rex, but he left it behind. I take Rex's notebook. She said something about you being able to find some use for it. Can't say I understood what she was getting at, though. Right. I'm gonna go back to my room. Tony leaves. What's Rex keeping written down in his notebook? I think it's time I found out. Bo, 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 bo. Bo, 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 bo. I open Rex's notebook. Inside, there's something written. It reads, 1967. Condor disappeared. Jack Green disappeared. Who the hell's he? It's my phone again. Hello? From the other end of the line, I hear a very familiar voice. Rachel. Merry Christmas, sweetie. I got some good news for you. Ed's made a dramatic recovery and will be out of the hospital by the weekend. That's good to hear. Yes, it's pretty comforting, but the doctor laid down the law. He said Ed really can't afford to push himself anymore. He has to avoid any unnecessary stress that could put strain on his heart. So I guess that means we'd better not give him too much trouble. You mean you'd better not? But yeah, that's what I figured too. So, how about you? Have there been any developments? Nothing too exciting, but there is something I need you to check out. What is it? I need you to check out someone connected to Rex Foster. Someone going by the name of Jack Green, who was under investigation by Rex. He may have disappeared off the grid after 1967. Jack Green, 1967, got it. I'll see what I can dig up. Expect a call when I find something. Thanks. It's like she doesn't have a job. It's like her job is to just do whatever Rex says. Looks like I'm going to be at a loose end till Rachel gets back to me about Jack Green. Hang on. I just remembered I need to return Sydney's record to him. Alright, down we go. I assume I'm already holding it. Unless I have to... Nope, not what I'm meant to be looking at. I'll just talk to Sydney. I'm assuming I have it. Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas, Mr. Hyde. Thanks again for last night. It was a refreshing change of pace. I enjoyed myself too. I think last night's gonna be a Christmas Eve I'll be sure to remember. Yeah, you and me both. Would you care for anything to eat? Nah, I'm good. I just came to return that record you loaned me. Oh no! Okay, I guess I'm going back to the room first. Wait! Oh, thank goodness. Okay. I thought my inventory was empty. I hand Sydney back his record. Thanks for that. Did you listen to it? Well, yes, that'd be awkward if I just gave it right back. Yeah, yes, I took it home and listened to it. Okay, all night, that's a little excessive. Is that so? It's not the kind of thing I usually listen to, but the song's nostalgic to me. Thanks to your record, I had a bit of a sentimental moment alone in my room. Ah, it does you good to come out of yourself from time to time. Yeah, I think it does. Actually, Mr. Hyde, there was something I wanted to talk to you about. Yeah? Actually, What is it? Just come out and say it. I wanted to ask you for your help with something. It's about Claire. Has something happened to her? She's been acting funny ever since she got home last night. And she hasn't said a word to me all morning. However many times I ask her, she won't say a thing. Oh good, yes. Brute force her, just keep prying, that's good. Sydney, I'm at the end of my tether. So what do you want me to do? I want you to find out what the problem is. Would you mind speaking to her on my behalf? Sometimes when I look at her, all I see is a naive young girl. If you agree to speak to her, you'll find her cleaning the billiards room. I'm counting on you, Mr. Hyde. Bow, 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 bow. Blow, 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 blow. Claire! Sorry, but I'm busy with cleaning at the moment. Oh dear. Claire? You still worried about your dad? Yes, I am. You remember what we talked about the day before Christmas Eve? Did you get around to asking him about it? Did you find out if there's someone special in his life? I never got around to asking him out, right? But I kinda got an impression from the way he was acting. So, what you're trying to tell me is that you didn't ask, right? I'm not interested in maybes. I need to know for sure. Claire? After all, this could be the last chance. I knew it. I just knew it. I had a feeling all along that he wouldn't keep his promise. The last chance for what, Claire? The last chance for him and Mom to get back together. If Dad doesn't step in and do something right away, it'll be too late. Mom's gonna move to Boston. Oh. That's what I mean when I say this is his last chance. So, you're holding out hope for your folks to give it a second try, is that it? That's right. I want them to get back together more than anything. I've been wishing for it for ages now. I see. That's where I was last night, Mr. Hyde, with Mom. That's when she told me about her plans to leave for Boston. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I asked her straight if she'd give Dad a second chance and try to start over. But this is how she responded. She said that she still loved him even now, but that she couldn't return to Lucky's Cafe. Sure, it has good memories for her, but it has also some bad ones too. She was scared that returning here would bring the bad ones back, and she couldn't stand it. What kind of bad memories? Memories about Dad's loans. She told me all about it. After they fell out, business started to decline at the cafe. Mom hated the idea of borrowing money off a certain person, but Dad did it anyway. That's what eventually led to them breaking up. Claire, what promise was that? It was one Dad made after Mom left. What did he promise? He promised something on the first Christmas without Mom. It was a sad Christmas for me. Dad was busy at the cafe, and I was all alone. I waited up until he'd finished work and returned home. He was a little drunk when he got there, though. Still, when he saw me, he pulled me into a hug and said that we would find happiness. Just the two of us. He promised that we'd be happier than we'd ever been before. He forced himself into a smile at the time, but I knew the truth. I could see past his smile and to the tears that fell from his eyes. I knew that Mom leaving was the hardest thing he'd ever had to deal with in his life. That's why I promised him something too that night. I promised that I'd also look for a way for us to be happy. And that's why you started to think of them getting back together, right? Right. That's all I've thought about since. But I don't know that I don't know what Dad's thinking anymore. Who was the person he borrowed from? It was Mrs. Patrice. Mags? That's what I heard. He got the money he needed from her. Mom's never been able to forgive him for that. And you knew about this? No, I had no idea. I'd never heard about it until last night. This is the last thing Mom told me last night. She said Dad still hadn't repaid all the money he borrowed. Who was I trying to kid? Dreaming that Mom and Dad would get back together and we'd all live happily ever after. I certainly let my imagination get the better of me, didn't I? I should have known it was never gonna happen. I was stupid to even think it could. Claire, as we get older, we learn to become more accepting of each other's shortcomings. I'm sure your folks are no different either. So if they really still love each other enough to put that whole ordeal in the past, who's to say that your dream won't come true after all? My dream. It's all down to how much affection they still have for each other. I'll tell you what your dad told me last night. I'll tell you just how much your dad still loves your mom. You take everything too much to heart, Claire. But sooner or later, both of them are going to sit up and notice how you're feeling. When that happens, they'll finally be able to answer each other's questions. That's why the best thing you can do is keep that smile on your face and stop sighing. You're right, Mr. Hyde. I need to look on the bright side. I'm still curious, though. Thanks a million, Mr. Hyde. I feel much better now. Ah, okay, so they want me to bring it up to Sydney. Okay. Hey, Sydney, how's the debt going, big guy? Just your idle, typical day-to-day conversation. Sydney? Disney? How did it go, Mr. Hyde? Did you manage to find out what's been troubling Claire? I asked her all right, but she's got some serious worries on her mind. She's worried about love. About what? I feared it might be something like that. I should have known something was up when she left at that hour last night. So what's going on? Has she hooked up with some guy? Is he treating her badly? Hold on there, Disney. Let's not jump to conclusions. But you just told me she's having problems with her love life. That is what you said, wasn't it? That is literally not what I just said 3 sentences ago, pal. Not really, no. It's got nothing to do with her love life. She's worried about her mom and you. It was her mom she met up with last night. You know what she's hoping? You know what she's hoping? She's hoping that you and her mom will give it another try. So that's what it's all about. Also, there's something I need to ask you. What is it? What's happening with the loan from Mags? How on earth did you find out about that, Mr. Hyde? Claire let me in on it, and it was her mom who told her. I see. Well, he's really just, giving me this information. Well, it all goes back to when we needed money to get this place up and running. How's that loan? Well, back in the day we needed money. It's like, yes, that's how loans work. Mrs. Patrice was kind enough to give us what we needed. For a price. It all stems from me knowing her late husband. I've been paying in installments each month. In half a year, my debt'll be settled. Debt'll be settled. Settle be deddled. She said she has too many bad memories to do with money troubles. For her, it's a very real reason not to give you a second chance to get back together. So that's the root of it. She still doubts me. How did you know Mags' husband? He was a customer in the restaurant here when this place was still a hotel. I would wait on his table a lot. I used to work there when I was younger, you see. Anyway, George Patrice, or Mrs. Patrice's husband as I should call him, was a regular. Very partial to cheesecake as I recall. I mean, who isn't? It's fucking amazing. It's freaking amazing, I mean. What kind of man was he? I remember him telling me that he used to play the sax in his youth. But at the time, when I knew him, he was the owner of several eateries around town. To sum up, he wasn't afraid to spread his money around. All the waiters jostled for the right to wait on his table. Of course, all they were after were his tips he'd offer them and nothing more. He'd always be around when the hotel was having an evening event. In particular, he always came to the parties they called Scarlet Star. What does Claire's mom doubt about you? She thinks there's something between me and Mrs. Patrice. She does. It was just something my wife was worried about. You see, when Mrs. Patrice was standing trial, I believed that she was innocent. My wife was convinced she was guilty. And from that point, she was sure that Mrs. Patrice and I had something going on. Meaning that, when I borrowed the money, she refused to forgive me for what I'd done. So, was there any truth to it? You and Mrs. Patrice. Or was it simply all a huge misunderstanding on Claire's mom's part? Of course it was just a misunderstanding. I only had eyes for her. There was never anything between me and Mrs. Patrice. There were parties called Scarlet Star? Yes, there were. Every month, Hotel Cape West would hold a party on a date with the number 6 in it. Those parties would be called Scarlet Star. How did they earn that name, though? I couldn't tell you. I haven't got the faintest idea, I'm afraid. Other parties that were held there had similar names like Gold Star or Silver Star. Those were held on dates with the numbers 3 or 9. What kind of parties were they? Just run-of-the-mill affairs, really. Just your run-of-the-mill orgies, you know. The type with food and drinks, and a live band and dance floor. I was there on a number of occasions, and they were all pretty similar. Sydney, when did Mag stand trial? Well, let's just forget about that, shall we? Sydney? So you can't tell me, huh? Not really. Well, I can't beat it out of you, but I can ask you nicely. Will you tell me? Yeah, I suppose I could. Really? Okay. Seeing as it's you I'm talking to, I just revealed he doesn't keep secrets to himself. He just tells them to everybody. But you have to promise to keep it to yourself, mind. No, he's gonna blab it. Of course. 13 years ago, Mrs. Patrice was a suspect in a certain incident. The jury returned a verdict of innocent, though, and she was freed. What kind of incident was it? She was suspected of killing her husband. What the hell? She was a suspect in a murder case. She was indeed. Sydney, why was her husband? Mr. Hyde, I've got nothing more to say on the matter. Can we leave it there, please? The verdict was innocent, and that's all that counts. I really don't want to talk about it anymore. I understand. I just need to make sure. But you will keep this discussion between us, won't you? I really don't want anything I've said about Mrs. Patrice to get out. I only told you because I trust you. Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. Then we understand each other. The last thing I want is to cause any trouble for Mrs. Patrice. Now, was that everything you wanted to ask me about? I do have a cafe to run, you know. A cafe with no customers, mind you. Actually, there is something else. What do you want to know? Do you still love... Really? Do I what? Punch him. Punch Kyle. This rude... Kyle, I don't like you, Kyle. Kyle. I want to hear how you really feel about her. Don't tell him, Sydney! This guy has no boundaries. Really? This game. I don't know how I feel about it. I love her, and there's no denying it. I just haven't got the confidence to tell her. To tell her you love her. Not exactly. To tell her that I want us to give it another try. You understand what I'm saying, don't you, Mr. Hyde? Even when two people really love each other, it doesn't guarantee it'll work out. The real reason we separated was to do with me. When I think about how it happened now, I can see exactly why she walked out. If only I could have seen things the way I see them now. I tried to console myself by making her the villain and branding her as heartless. But the truth is, I was a fool. The worst thing is that it took losing my wife for me to notice how she was feeling. That's why I'm afraid. I'm afraid that if we did get back together, I'd do the same thing over again. I'm sure she's thinking along the exact same lines, though. You may feel unsettled, but you clearly want to have another shot at happiness. Mr. Hyde, Claire told me about the promise you made her. She did. She told me about the first Christmas you spent with your wife, without your wife. And when you told her that you'd find happiness together. She'd been thinking about that ever since. Well, her idea of happiness is having her family back and all living together. It's not my place to dictate to you how your family should be. But I'll tell you this for free. There aren't many families that can get back together. Most of them who have tried failed. Ain't that a fact? A sad but true one. Okay, I need to be somewhere. Well, not a whole lot has happened this video, but it has been nearly in half an hour, about 25 minutes, so I'm gonna end this video here. So, Stay tuned for the next episode, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye!